Did you or did you not tell him that if we were going to attack, you would let him know?
As part of that conversation, I said, General Lee, there's not going to be a war, there's not going to be an attack between great powers. And if there was, the tensions would build up. There'd be calls going back and forth from all kinds of senior officials. I said, hell, General Lee, I'll probably give you a call, but we're not going to attack you. Trust me, we're not going to attack you. These are two great powers, and I am doing my best to transmit the president's intent, President Trump's intent, to ensure that the American people are protected from an incident that could escalate.
I understand your intent, but I think you articulating that you would tell him, you would give him a call, I think is worthy of your resignation. I just think that's against our country, that you would give our number one adversary that information and tell him that.
At what point, General McKenzie, and this is for all three of you, at what point did you know that the strike was bad, that it hit civilians?
Well, so we knew the strike hit civilians within 4 or 5 hours after the strike occurred. And U.S. Central Command released a press release to saying that. We did not know, though, that the target of the strike was, in fact, an error a mistake until sometime later. It took us a few days to run that down. Okay. But we knew pretty soon after the strike.
Good deal. Secretary Austin, when did you know it was a bad strike that killed civilians?
As soon as General McKenzie reported that there were civilians that had been injured. And
so 4 or 5 hours time frame, that's all I need.
Right. Typically, as soon as that happens, we investigate. We begin an investigation.
When did you know that civilians were killed in that strike? That's my question. It's real easy. It's a time. It's not it doesn't take much to answer that.
Right. Several hours after that.
Okay. General Milley, same
thing.
General Milley, you offered all of the concerning intelligence, and I'm going to request that you provide it to us. I would like you to provide us the relevant intelligence information that you based your belief that China was going to believe that there was an imminent attack. I also want your request for declassification of the approval that you released that information that China believed so, including your request for declassification of your conversation that you had with General Lee and any approvals. I want a transcript of your call with General Lee, and I also want any readouts, memorandums, notice of calls, or outcomes. Now, you chose to talk to reporters instead of us, and that's great. It's of great concern. No one in Congress knew that one of two of the major nuclear powers thought that they were perhaps being threatened for attack.
I sadly believe that American families today are at a greater risk of murderous attacks at home than ever before. You talked about the attacks at the airport. No, they're coming here. And that is that in history, we are at greater risk. Suicide bombers can operate from the safe haven of Afghanistan, just as 9/11, and with the open southern borders. The example of May 8th mass murder of over 80 girls in Kabul should have not been forgotten. The buck stops with 13 murdered Marines. Mr. Biden is disregarding the military advice, and I believe the president should resign.
This morning you stated that the withdrawal was a logistical success but a strategic failure. And I would say that probably American citizens and the special immigrant visa holders would probably disagree. Those that were left behind would probably disagree with your assessment of a logistical success. That being said, I want to focus on the strategic failure aspect of that. You said yesterday that all you can do, and you just said it now, all you can do is provide your best advice, and it's up to the president to make the ultimate decision. In your best military judgment, did President Biden's decisions cause this strategic failure?
I think, as I said yesterday, first of all, I'm not going to judge a president. That's the job of the American people. That's the job of Congress, not my job.
I'm asking for your best military judgment, for your judgment.
My assessment is this is a 20-year war. And it wasn't lost in the last 20 days or even 20 months for that matter. There's a cumulative effect to a series of strategic decisions that go way back. Bin Laden, right on the Tora Bora, for example. We knew where he was. We were 1,000 meters away. Could have ended it perhaps right there. The shift from going into Iraq and pulling all the troops out of Afghanistan with the exception of a few others. Major strategic decision. Not effectively dealing with Pakistan as a sanctuary. Major strategic issue that we're going to have to really unpack. The intelligence piece, pulling advisors off 3 or 4 years ago out of Candax, so we blinded ourselves to our ability to see the will, the morale, the leadership, and the training. There's a whole series of decisions that take place over 20 years. I don't think that whenever you get some phenomena like a war that is lost, and it has been, in the sense of we accomplished our strategic task of protecting America against al-Qaeda, but certainly the end state is a whole lot different than what we wanted. So whenever a phenomenon like that happens, there's an awful lot of causal factors, and we're going to have to figure that out. A lot of lessons learned here.
For the record, was it your professional military opinion and advice that we should abandon Bagram Air Base? And if not, was this decision forced on you by the arbitrary troop cap of roughly 650?
Once the president's decision was made in mid-April, 14 April, and we had a change of mission to go to 0 and bring the troops down to a number that was only required to maintain an embassy. The Bagram decision was made at that point, because at that point there's no way you could defend both Bagram and HKIA. But one additional point. Most of the people that were required to be in a NEO were coming out of Kabul. And HKIA, as Scotty Miller, General Miller, has already testified to, KIA was always going to be the center of gravity of any NEO. But we didn't have the forces available to do both.
Okay,
so
thank you. I'm going to ask
on,
General McKenzie a question. General McKenzie, had we kept control of Bagram, what forces or what options and capabilities would that have given U.S. forces during the withdrawal? Had that been in play?
Well, in order to hold Bagram, I'd have needed to probably pushing 5,000 more troops on the ground. So that would have been a significant decision to hold Bagram. And we were under the direction to go to 0. So it would have required a basic policy directive to change the plan. If you're going to go to 0 and you're going to keep enough forces to hold your embassy in the airfield, it is incompatible to hold any other base anywhere in the country. So that would be a policy decision to go out and hold Bagram under that case. Let me just further add that I did not see any tactical utility to Bagram.
The billions of dollars in equipment that was left behind has been under much scrutiny. Knowing that they were going to fail, why were more steps not taken to secure that military equipment or destroy it, knowing that now it's a well-equipped Taliban army?
Yeah, so the number is a big number, so let me unpack that a little bit. First of all, the $84 billion included all of the...
I understand that. Let's just cut right to the equipment that was left behind. Why was so much left behind? Aircraft, MRAPs, weapons. Why was that there when you knew they were going to fail?
The other thing I would say is that all of the equipment that we had that we were using, as I stated earlier, was evacuated by General Miller. Now, the reason that the Afghans had the equipment they had is because we wanted them to be successful. And they could not be successful without the appropriate.
Okay, if they're watching these hearings yesterday and today, I'm guessing that they probably feel like they were played as fools, because you all just said you knew they were going to fail. So here we have an army we built up, we used them until we didn't need them anymore to accomplish Biden's objective and Trump's objective of getting out of Afghanistan. However, it went horribly wrong, as we can probably all agree to.
You spent more time with Bob Woodward on this book than you spent analyzing the very likely prospect that the Afghanistan government was going to fall immediately to the Taliban, didn't you?
Not even close, Congressman.
Oh, really? Because you said right after Kabul fell that no one could have anticipated the immediate fall of the Ghani government. When did you become aware that Joe Biden tried to get Ghani to lie about the conditions in Afghanistan? He did that in July. Did you know that right away?
I'm not aware of what President Biden...
You're not aware of the phone call that Biden had with Ghani where he said, whether it is true or not, we want you to go out there and paint a rosy picture of what's going on in Afghanistan. You're the chief military advisor to the president. You said that the Taliban was not going to defeat the government of Afghanistan militarily, which, by the way, they cut through them like a hot knife through butter. And then the president tries to get Ghani to lie. When did you become aware of that attempt?
Well, there's two things there, Congressman, if I may. One is what I said was the situation was stalemate, and if we kept advisors with there, the government of Afghanistan and the Army would have still been there. That's what I said. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But
it seems wrong now with the Taliban in
we
control.
went through all the...
General Milley, why is it important for the military to be non-political?
I think an apolitical military is critical to the health of this republic.
General, why did you spend, you've already established yesterday and today, you spent a significant amount of time talking to political book authors and political reporters, including Bob Woodward. What compelled you to do that?
I believe that part of my job is to communicate to the media what we do as a government, what we do as a military, to explain to the people. And so I do interviews regularly with print media, books, documentaries, videos on TV, TV interviews. I think it's part of a senior official's job to be transparent, and I believe in a free press.
What happens when a military general becomes a political figure? You would agree that's dangerous.
I think it's dangerous, and I have done my best to remain personally apolitical and to try to keep the military out of actual domestic politics. And I made a point of that from the time I became the chairman, and especially beginning last summer.
You told us you told the Senate yesterday you hadn't read the book or any of the other political books that have come out, but I don't know how anybody could read the Bob Woodward book. I don't know how you could read it and not be greatly embarrassed about its contents, especially in how it's related to you. Are you embarrassed by the book?
I haven't read the book yet.
Are you embarrassed by the portrayals of the book? No doubt you're aware of them.
Embarrassed, no. I'm concerned that there's mischaracterizations of me becoming very politicized as an individual, and that it's my willingness to become politicized, which is not true. I am trying to stay apolitical, and I believe I am. That's part of my professional ethic, and I'm trying to keep the military, the actual military, out of actual domestic politics. I think that's critical.
Do you regret speaking with Bob Woodward?
No, I think that it's important for me to speak to the media.
I think the strike was done to show we had over-the-horizon capabilities, and we didn't. Because we reported a secondary explosion that was not. We reported all kind of stuff. Now, my next question is the other strike. Who did we kill?
I'd prefer to pass you that name in a classified setting.
Okay, can you tell me, was it an HVT or just a low-level terrorist?
I think it was a facilitator. It was a good strike. I think we got someone who, while not directly involved in the attack on Abbey Gate on the 26th, certainly fell within that circle of accomplishment.
In a classified, I'd like to know that. And then my next question is, I just don't understand. I guess maybe I went to Union Public High School of 1100. My math, 11 to 15,000 U.S. citizens, 5,400 out. That leaves thousands, not hundreds, left that want to get out. And I know for a fact, every office here, we had people calling us wanting to get out, U.S. citizens that were not allowed to get in the gate or were kicked off the base or were not allowed out. And with that, I just ask, guys, we got to get our folks home.